show that. Good evening. Welcome to Housing Matters. Joining me tonight is Jayne Hyde. Jayne's been serving on the planning board for the past 10 years. She's also the chair of the Burlington Housing Partnership Committee. Prior to that, Jayne has served 15 years with the Board of Appeals, and she currently serves as well as the town as the benefits administrator. And we thank Jayne for coming on.
Thank you, Mike.
Short notice. Thank you very much. Jayne, there are several housing developments coming to Burlington in the next few months. Some people will recognize, but there's also others that may not be so recognizable. Could you maybe
just
give us a rundown of the 3 or 4 that are ready to go shortly?
Well, the most prominent one that I'm sure that everybody in town is aware of at this point that's moving right along is Grandview Farms, where we have the 42 senior affordable units. They're still on target to be open for people to move in sometime around September 1.
Fantastic.
And then we also have Kimball Woods. We have 64 units down there, but affordable units. And that is located down, actually, in order to get to it, you actually have to go through Woburn to Burlington to get to it.
Down Beacon Street.
Down Beacon Street, or you can go down Peach Orchard onto, is it Pearl Street?
Pearl Street, exactly.
Okay, and then we also have our National Development Site. That site is the former Sand and Gravel. It sits between Muller Road and Wheeler Road, and there will be 425 units there. The town will have 34 affordable rentals and 9 for-sale units.
Fantastic. So that's been broken up into rentals and some for-sale units as well.
They have
Fabulous. Terrific. Burlington's experienced some dramatic growth over the years, and along with that growth has come higher real estate costs. And a lack of, or a scarcity of land for future development to accommodate more housing in town. So the town's really had its hands full recently with housing. Can you kind of explain how you've dealt with that over the past 15 years, 20 years or so?
Well, I mean, we've been, and Burlington's been actively growing since the housing partnership that we both happen to sit on has been in the making since 1985 after the town. If you remember correctly, back then we had 2 comprehensive permits, which is now one of them is Stone Ridge, Stonebrook Farms.
Stonebrook Farms, correct.
And the Arboretum,
right.
312 units down at the Arboretum and 202 units at Stonebrook. And after that, we created this partnership to see where the town would be going with affordable housing. And we've actually been quite busy. We started right off the bat with we had received a grant, and we did some feasibility studies on town-owned property, which, by the way, have been developed. One of them was your Long Meadow Place, was one of the ones we had done a study on for affordable housing. And over the years, we've made some changes. We've done, we do have a cluster zoning bylaw. We've had that, I'm sure you're familiar with Cranberry Lane.
Cranberry off of Terrace Hall Ave.
That's correct. That was the first time that it had been used. And the other one would be Beacon Woods, which is off of Beacon Street.
Right.
The condominiums that sit just beyond Beacon Village.
Correct.
The issue with that is it requires at least 10 acres of land, and we have very few 10-acre parcels left. And
that's true.
We're trying to make some changes to that bylaw. Presently, the planning board has begun the process of looking at an inclusionary zoning bylaw that would require every development that comes in with an affordable housing component. We feel that that would help. But, the future is really clustering your your units together and having more open space. We're creating our own urban sprawl by, as you know, everybody wants the bigger homes, they want bigger
Right.
parcels of land. We spread out more and more, and that creates your urban sprawl. We need to kind of bring it all in together, and sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand density.
There's no really room to grow, and instead of growing out, we're going to have to either grow up or grow a little
Correct.
closer, which has sort of been the trend lately. Very little open space left. That cluster zoning was I know it's only been used a couple of occasions, but when it was used, it seemed to be very tastefully done, and then still allows for some open space and access
certainly
to
is.
it.
And the people love them. I mean, they would love to see more of them in Burlington. There's no, I mean, as soon as one of those units is for sale, they're sold.
Right. They don't stay on. Don't stay on too
A lot of interest.
long.
No, they
Yeah.
don't.
I know you've also you've just recently completed a study, and you sort of alluded to that earlier. The community development plan. I think you completed that just a couple of years ago, 104. There was a housing component to that study. I actually participated in that portion of it a little bit, and you've tried to identify some few remaining parcels in town for potential development, and sort of if a proposal comes forward for any of those, you're sort of prepared.
We are definitely. Unfortunately, they're not owned by the town. They are owned by private
Right.
companies. But if in fact there were to be, you're right, we did prepare for that. And the town's also, we also did a housing component many years ago on our master plan, and we do
Right.
have an idea of where we're going with our population and what we need. That was a big help.
We've attained that 10% quota that,
Yes,
that
we
a lot
have.
of folks have heard about. Burlington is one of the few communities
Absolutely.
to even approach that 10%, never mind eclipse it. And that was no easy task. That was a lot of work on the town side through planning and the Board of Selectmen and
Yes.
other elected officials in town, and that's quite an accomplishment. And I understand to maintain that 10% for future expansion, that the planning board has sort of set a goal of any future developments. We're going to talk about a couple that have come forward recently, where through the cooperation of the developer and the planning board, we were able to come to
An agreement.
an agreement where we keep that 10% affordability in town without having to settle for a comprehensive permit that sometimes is undesirable.
Correct.
We've got a bit of a history in Burlington here, and I think it started a little while ago when the military housing, the former military housing on South Bedford Street.
Yes.
That seems to, I believe that was the first time that we've actually taken a look at the affordable housing in town, other than the senior housing that we've had for the last 30 or 40 years. Seems like once we got those 10 units of military housing, that we got our feet wet with the lottery system and all that jazz.
Yes.
And since that time, we've had some others have followed.
And we've learned from each
We have.
step. We've
right.
learned. That's a very unique program. Today, calculating the price of affordable homes has a much different formula that was used back then. And when they first originally sold, the original houses went off at it was $96,000. And the formula for that is a little bit different from what we have with our LIP program and our 40Bs. What we do there is we actually take a formula. We take 81 I think it's 81.98%, and it's multiplied times the fair market appraisal of the unit. So as you can
Right.
see, I think back then probably it was the late 1980s, early 90s when we first acquired them, actually early 90s. If you think about it, who had any idea that real estate would grow to the way that it has? I don't think that, so that formula, those homes are gonna still go up, and it's going to be.
That's right. It'll be difficult for
Yes.
for those to be
Yes.
categorized, I suppose, as affordable when they do turn over.
We need to
So,
make some changes.
we have to adjust to the.
I don't think we had any idea or any vision of what would happen with real estate.
No, not at all. No, a lot of folks haven't. Now we started with that South Bedford Street site, and then we've had a few other programs come to town recently, and I think Windview Heights was one. Those were townhouses for sale units.
Comprehensive permit.
Under comprehensive permit. Grandview we alluded to earlier. That was a slightly different program. That's
Result of the land swap.
okay. And that's considered a local initiative or a LIP program that you mentioned.
Yeah, we're not sure about, we haven't formally applied for anything for that yet. That has a lot of different criteria that's required under the state. But that was all part of the agreement. There was 42 units there, and I'm sure people are aware that there's 36 affordable rentals down off of Wall Street at the Heritage at Stone Ridge development.
Right, right. Just did the lottery for that not too long ago.
Yes, we did.
As well.
As our housing partnership is very proactive in this town.
But those lotteries, like you said, we've come a long way from when the town started with the military program. We've sort of learned from our mistakes as we go along, and so each step of the way we're getting a little.
Yeah, we had over, what, 170 in our last lottery, so.
Another one that's come on recently, Sunrise, the assisted living.
Yes.
Excuse me, located on Mall Road.
Mall Road, not far from Long Meadow Place, which we do have some units there that are affordable. We have 10 units there. And we have 8 units at Sunrise. Now, though that criteria, you know, there is nothing out there under the affordable guidelines under the Department of Housing and Community Development that really address assisted living. It just isn't there. So Burlington, as usual, is ahead of the curve, and we now have 2 facilities that allow us to do that. And what that is based on is it's a formula that gives you, it's based on, it's actually $80 a day for a Burlington resident that qualifies. And again, it's income restrictions, some asset limitations. There are some units available. Something that we haven't done in the past is some veterans preferences, former residents, people that have ties to the community, family members, things like that. So that's really a very unique, and it's almost probably a little bit less than half of the price per day for the affordables that we have there. And they're still actually moving into there. They have not filled. They have 79 units there.
Okay, that's $80 a day sounds like a lot of money
Well, when
to people. But I suppose if you have researched other assisted living or even nursing home facilities, that's about $4,000, $4,500 a month for an assisted living unit. So
in our case, it runs about $2,400, $2,500 a month. But it starts in the other units. They start at $140 a day.
right.
And you have to remember, for those that aren't familiar with how assisted living works, that takes care of you 3 meals a day and everything in your room.
Right.
The only thing you're paying for extra if you were to be having, you know, cable TV or something. But basically, you cover all your services under that.
Right. But
So it is quite a savings.
it is. It's substantial savings actually. I think we've done a little better with that facility than the other one we mentioned. As
Long
far
Meadow
as
Place?
criteria-wise.
Yeah, I think they're much more lower income restrictions than what we have at Sunrise.
Obviously, Grandview and South Bedford, some of these ones are these lotteries and whatnot that we've already held. Is there a waiting list for any of these units? For example, what happens at Windview if somebody decides to sell one of the townhouses?
The
Is
town
there
would
an
run another lottery.
opportunity for another first-time home buyer to come in and purchase that unit?
Yeah, the town would run another lottery. One of the reasons you could keep a list, and I think in the future the town may maintain a list, but you know, it's all based on your income. Things change over the years. The price of the units change. The income for the 80% of the median income, that number can fluctuate. So we haven't had a turnover yet in that. We've had several on the military homes.
Right. But even then, that's... But when they do become available,
We
the
market
town is
intensively.
notified. And
Yeah, absolutely.
we try and get the word out that they're available, and the applicants will be
Yes.
forthcoming.
It's a very detailed outreach and marketing plan that we have to do.
Same thing with Grandview, I assume. We may see a little more turnover
We
there
still
at
have names
Grandview
on a
than
list. We still have
you've
names.
maintained that. You maintain the list after the lottery.
Yes.
So those folks are still there, and they'll be contacted if opportunity arises.
Right.
If someone hadn't applied previously, prior to the lottery, if someone wanted to maybe get their name on that list today,
Yes,
is it
they could.
possible to do so?
Yes, that is.
Okay. At the top of the show, we talked about these new developments that are coming in town, and there's going to be some new criteria. And so I'd like to try and highlight some of those units a little more closely if we could. Let's start with Kimball Woods, located off of Beacon Street, Beacon and Pearl Street.
Okay. It's part of the Woburn complex is called Kimball Court, and that's been there for quite a while. And actually, when you get into there on the Burlington side, it abuts conservation land. It's absolutely a spectacular view. There are two towers, a south and north tower. There's some garage parking as well in that unit. And we're going to have 64 affordable rentals. Now, they're going to be mixed up with one bedroom, two bedroom. I think there's going to be some studios. And that income will be based on you can't make more than 80% of the median income, and you cannot have more than $50,000 in assets. Now, these guidelines, that was a comprehensive permit. It was 40B, as I'm sure everybody's familiar with now. So these are the strict guidelines that come under the Department of Housing and Community Development that we have to abide by for these units to count.
So 40B as opposed to a local initiative.
That's correct.
The guidelines are much more
Guidelines are
stringent,
but there's a few differences between the two. The major difference is with the 40B, obviously they're using federal and state subsidy, where in the local initiative you are not. Okay, that makes a big difference. But you know, the 40Bs that we have, they've worked well in the town so far. This is going to be a great place for Burlington residents. And because it was a 40B, we have 25%. The total amount of units is 256, so we get that's where we get the 64 from, because we actually get 25%. But Burlington residents will only have 70% preference. And that's very common with the local initiative program or the LIP program as well. The state never allows you to have 100%.
Well, no, oftentimes the developers are using
yes, they use funds.
State or federal funds to develop these sites, so to lock out anyone who doesn't live within our town boundaries really isn't fair, because we're using taxpayers' money essentially to build these
and that's basically everybody. It's now down to the 70-30%. That's how it works.
I hope to have those folks from Kimball Woods on at a future date.
Yes, they're actually starting to market those units. There could be people moving in as soon as 2 months.
So they're pretty close.
So we'll be doing some marketing on that pretty soon.
Seven Springs. I've been down to Seven Springs. I actually spent quite a bit of time down there in the last couple of weeks. That looks very nice. That's off of Wheeler Road. That's the former.
It's right between the Sand and Gravel. It's right between Muller Road and Wheeler Road. And actually, there's a couple of components. Arbor Point, total is 425 units, is the total. And that's going to be done in phases. As a planning board member, the decision to do that was that we didn't want all of a sudden to have these 425 units come online all at once. So they're phased over a few years. Arbor Point is doing the rentals. That's what it's called. Now, the Seven Springs is the for sales in the internal part of that. And then along the other side of Muller Road, it's called the Reserve of Seven Springs Reserve. There's going to be 25 condominiums out there. That is in the very last phase. Those will be all 3-bedroom units. So they've completely separated from the interior of that project. That's kind of, you probably haven't heard that much about it because they won't be online for a couple more years.
But the construction for the townhouses is well underway.
Oh, absolutely. They're moving down there.
Those, I believe, will be all 2-bedroom townhouses with garage.
Yes, we actually have...
Pretty nice amenities down there, actually.
Yes, we actually have 7 2-bedrooms in there, and then in the very last phase on the outside we will have 2 of the 3-bedroom condominiums.
Wow, those look very nice.
They are
I can't wait for those, and those will be, again, they'll be coming along soon. Now, if somebody's interested in either Kimball Woods or rental units or perhaps one of these for sale units at Seven Springs.
I know, they've got all sorts of things going down there.
How can they apply, or how can they get further information?
We should be doing really extensive marketing very shortly with the Kimball Woods and the Seven Springs, because those rentals, they've had some weather issues like a lot of the others have. Their units may become available, and I hate to throw out this, but a give or take maybe August 1st. Okay? But that's always subject to change, but they are doing their marketing of them now. So we will be advertising. Now, what we'll do is we market on cable, local TV. We'll, BCAT station here, we will do something. We also put it in all our local papers, and we have to go beyond that because we need to market to that other 30% that aren't Burlington residents. So it's a very extensive outreach program. And by the way, the nice component of all of these is too that we have municipal employees. You know, it goes with resident, former resident, people that have family relatives here, and municipal employees, which is really nice.
So that'll be part of the criteria.
Yes.
Which we'll have. You'll be back with further information regarding these as we.
Yes,
cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Yes, we let you know where you can pick up your applications, and we actually had a discussion before the show about maybe getting some of these applications online. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, maybe Jim Rounds could put something.
We can probably do something.
Put something together. Jim's a pretty busy guy, though. Actually, we're kind of running down on time, but there are other options available in town as well as the ones that we've already discussed. There's some tried and true housing such as Tower Hill and Birchcrest.
Yes, our senior housing.
If folks want information or applications, they can contact the
Housing Authority
down there. The Arboretum, I think it's called Archstone now.
Yes.
And Stonebrook Farms. There's an affordable component to those.
Yes, there is.
Developments. I suppose if folks are interested in the, they're not sort of, the town's not really involved in those.
We do not monitor those units. I think the Housing Authority may have some idea. That might be the better place to contact. But and that's part of the reason, the town has really taken a stand on monitoring their units, because if you don't, you really don't know what's happening and what's going on. And those units are pretty much ready to go offline for their affordable component. They're one of the first 2 that we had in town. But they are in discussion. Town council is in discussion with them about maintaining some of these units still.
Right. We really hate to have those come offline, and
Yes, that would be very devastating
We'll see
to
how
us.
that shakes out. So you can either contact the management companies down there at each of those units, or
Yes.
perhaps the Housing Authority for further information. And finally, Jane, I know there are some websites out there that I've seen just loaded with information for first-time home buyers and income eligible renters and things like that.
Yes,
Do
with
you have, a
Chapter,
couple of
which
good ones?
is Citizens Housing and Planning Association. There's a Mass Housing Alliance out there. There's, I think they actually have some of the website that, yes, I see them up there that they
Linda
can put
has
up
them
on
up.
the.
Thank you, Linda.
They're there. And briefly, I did want to take a moment. The town also participates in a program called American Dream Down Payment Initiative. What that is HUD money that's given, it goes through Department of Housing and Community Development. And what it means is for these first-time home buyer programs for income eligible people, they can get 5% of the up to $10,000. They get 5% up to $10,000 of the price of the home. Okay, the maximum you can get for a down payment is $10,000. That is a zero interest loan that if you live there for more than 5 years, the loan is forgiven. Now we did, if you remember correctly, we had some of those on Windview Heights.
That's right.
In order to apply for that, you go through it's a nonprofit company called Community Solutions Network. And what they do is they run these housing certification classes that you do have to take, but it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for a first-time home buyer to get that kind of money for down payment.
Any edge the youngsters can get today to
I think it's
help them
wonderful.
is wonderful.
You know, there's a lot of banks out there that are willing to do some really low-interest loans for first-time home buyers.
There are a lot of programs out there, but you really need to know where to look. And I think those websites that we put up
Those are great.
earlier is a great place to start.
And we always do with our lotteries, as you remember, we run these workshops, and we'll have people there that are available that can talk to these people and help them through the process as well.
Terrific.
Great.
Well, we've got a lot in the future, and it is an ample opportunity in the past in the town of Burlington. Town's done a terrific job, in my opinion.
We certainly have.
And I thank you very much for taking your time out. I know the Yankees are in town tonight, and you're a big baseball fan. I want to thank the crew and the staff at BCAT. And again, Jane, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Imagine what it feels like to be a hero every day. You can make a difference in the Coast Guard. Jobs that matter. Search and rescue, saving lives. You're answering the call. It's a job that matters, where you can do it all. Coast Guard. Jobs that matter. Imagine what it feels like. Imagine what it feels like.
Join the United States Coast Guard or the Coast Guard Reserve. Stop drugs. Save lives. Protect the environment. Be a hero every day.
Imagine what it feels like. You can do it all.
Call toll-free 1-877-NOW-USCG. The Coast Guard. Jobs that matter.
Coast Guard. Jobs